Alright. Hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugin Along, we kept working on the Deep Tracker plugin. It's been 2 weeks. We were working on the opacity controls and an on-off option for the Deep Tracker mini icon, little icon that sits down in the wherever you keep it. I keep mine in the bottom left of the screen, and is a quick way to interact with the plugin. Today we're going to take advantage, though, of the extra week of the 2026 Anniversary Festival to update the Festival Buddy 2 barter item list for the festival. That might not take too long. I think the list is fairly up to date, but I haven't taken a look at all, and it'll also be a way for me to double check that I'm not missing any critical items that I would like to have before the festival's over. I see we have a raid from Master of Dungeon, so welcome all the raiders out there. So we're going to go ahead and take a look around. First of all, we are in Bree, of course, because my barter item list in Festival Buddy tells me that Frithbert Games Master is someone I want to talk to. And also there's a horse trader and there's a keeper of gifts. So we're going to check in with each of those three, and I believe, if I remember this correctly, that they're all located over there in that tent. So we're going to take a look at that. We are, of course, up on the rooftops of Bree, where we maybe shouldn't be. Whenever you're playing around with rooftop hopping, just make sure you have a milestone or travel skill handy, because if you fall where you're not supposed to, there's no way out sometimes of these inner spaces, and you're just left to teleport out or be sad. So make sure you have a way to get out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go where we are supposed to go. And we're going to start with Frithbert Games Master. Whenever I'm in here, I have problems because I want to zoom out from my character, and this tent does not collide with cameras. A lot of walls will collide with cameras. Like if I come on over here and I try to zoom out my camera, the wall acts as a physical barrier to sort of that invisible camera, constraining how far back it can go, which is great. Love it. But the tent fabric does not do that, and that makes me a little confused, because when we're doing festivity token farming or something, we'll hop into instances, I'll scroll back out because I like to have that big view, and we'll pop out of there, and suddenly I'm looking at a tent, and I have to zoom back in. So Frithberg, fix your tent collisions, please. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at things. So we are going to go ahead and stop hitting the scroll wheel. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and get my code window available. So this is controlled over here in the Festival Buddy plugin. We're in the Barter Items list, which is then loaded by the Barter Window class. And specifically, we're not looking at Spring, we're not looking at Farmer's Fair, not Harvest Math, not Yule. You can kind of see the order that these were added in. Anniversary, hooray. One thing I've been thinking about is it might be nice to add something about when was this last updated. Friendly in chat says, is it possible to hide or disable UI elements dynamically, like out of combat? So I'm not 100% sure I know what you mean by dynamically in this case. A lot of UI elements can at least be moved around with the control / by default command. They've tried to make that a little bit more obvious with the edit UI button. It's the same thing. And that is all, there's another option in your UI settings that also toggles that. Hide or disable elements dynamically. Can you give an example of what you mean by dynamically in that sense? What I can say is that when it comes to plugins, which is the specific focus of the stream, plugins have very little ability to override the default UI as the game presents. There's a couple exceptions to that. Your inventory, your bag, the game gives a way for plugins to override what your bag is and present their own UI. Your party vitals, your character and your party member, your raid members, those are all things where the game gives you the ability to override what that looks like. So the plugin can say, no, this is I'm in charge of drawing that. You don't draw that. But beyond that, plugins don't really have a lot of control, or any, I should say, plugins don't have control over the UI. So if you're talking about something you want to see sometimes but not others, that might be trickier. So I'll wait and see what you toss in the chat there as an example. One thing I will say is the new UI scaling system suggests that even if you just want to get rid of something most of the way, like I could take that radar and I could shrink it on down, and now that radar is much less noticeable. Like, it's still on the screen, but it's not going to catch my eye nearly so much as a full-sized radar, or even a extra-sized radar. We're going to go ahead and put it back to normal-sized radar, though. Okay, cool. Okay, so while Friendly thinks about a use case and gets back to us, let's go ahead and look at Frithbird. So, let's look at what I was musing on. So, one thing that I am thinking is that the Barter Items anniversary, a last updated whenever, could be interesting. Friendly says they're new to plugins. No worries. Really, the question's what were you thinking of from a gameplay perspective, and that's totally fine. If you're new to LOTRO, I would definitely encourage you to play around with it as is, and then start thinking, are there places where plugins can smooth the process of playing a little bit? For instance, Festival Buddy is hopefully a helper for your festival activities, but if you never do in-game festival activities, you don't need that as a plugin, do you? Similarly, another plugin that I work on, Deed Tracker, tracks which deeds you have and haven't done, and gives you a nice UI for displaying that. But if you don't care about deed progress, that's not a good plugin for you. Okay, so what I was thinking is Barter Items, Anniversary, last updated blah. So, or maybe at the bottom. We're not using that space right here. Let's see. What if I make it much taller? Yes. Oh, if you make the one too small, we do get rid of that. I think that's fine. Something like that. Let's take a look at where that comes into play. So barter win. If we say barter items, we're not going to find it here. Barter items. It's probably going to be on our strings. No? Fascinating. There we go. Oh, the quote. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, sorry. The colon isn't included in that. That's fine. Okay, so where is that used? No, just that's the whole word. Okay, set text to that, and here's where we concatenate that colon, and then the actual festival. Okay. So, Lang's Festival, Lang's other barter. So if we were in Lang's Festival, spring, Okay, Lang's other barter items. Okay, so that's here. So if we had a last updated equals, and then we went ahead and just copied that for a moment, and then we said last updated, and then just to have something to put in there, we're going to go ahead and use a tool like Google Translate. Whatever works for you is fine. And we're going to go ahead and say last updated. And let's go ahead and give it a little bit more context. Last updated April 2026. It's May. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we could assume that this is probably okay. What if we switch it around? April. Okay, the only thing that changed was the month. That's good. May. Okay. Let's go ahead and start with that. So we're going to copy that. I'm not going to try to manually select things, just hit the copy button. Come on over here and we will modify it here. Okay. And then the German, well, actually, let's go ahead and switch it around. So if the French came here, we get last updated that. That looks good. It seems pretty stable if we go back and forth. That seems plausible. Let's go ahead and switch over to German. All right, that looks plausible. So let's go ahead and go back and forth. Yeah, that looks fine. So now I'm not going to use month names for this, I don't think. I think I'll either just use a year like 2026 or 2026-05, something like that. This is just meant to be what is the text part of the last updated here. And then for each festival, kind of feel like we want to be in the barter strings. So let's come take a look at that. So we're going to come into Barter Items. And then we could do that in here as just a string indexed item. And so it won't really be involved when we iterate through this numerically. Or we could just do a separate table. I'm kind of inclined to just start here, last updated equals, and not sure actually, because that's spring. But let's come back down to anniversary. So last updated equals 2026-05. Okay, so now we have something. So let's go to the barter window and say, okay, we need a local last updated equals, and it's going to start with blank. And if the selected festival, so we need stuff. So barter selected festival. So if that, and then we're going to come on in, not to string, and get the last updated element here. So last updated, if that, then, so if that exists, then we'll go ahead and make the concatenation. So last updated equals, and that's going to be get string of lang dot other dot last updated. And then we're going to concatenate that with this. Okay. And then we're going to include that. So let's just separate this out into its own variable. So barter festival label text equals, because we want that to be all of this already. Oh, we need the get last updated to be, we need to have a space at the beginning of that. So we can just concatenate this empty, that's fine, or it'll have a space. And then let's set that as the text here. Now, if we wanted to, we could go ahead and space this out vertically a little bit. So we'll do that, dot, last updated. Okay, so we can see all of it now. We can see the barter items, get string in the festival, and then the last updated text, which we've already constructed to either be empty or complete in and of itself. Let's give that a try. So we're going to go ahead and unload and reload. Great. So I don't like that it's taking up a lot of space. I'd kind of like it to be a new line, now that I'm looking at it. But I don't know how much room we have. So let's go ahead and say label Barter Festival set back color to be a turbine.ui.color.something, dark green maybe. And let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, so we can see it is centered in a way that's actually a little disconcerting because of the buttons for minimizing and collapsing and expanding all of the other stuff. So let's look at centering this horizontally, but making it top justified vertically. Now, let's find where the rest of this is defined. There we go. Oh, hey, we have a back color here. Wait, that's terrible. Let's dark green again. Great. And then we can see the text alignment is middle center, but what I'd really love is top center. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that looks. Okay, answer is great. Now that text is aligned with these buttons, now we can take advantage of more verticality here. So let's go back down to where we're defining this and say that festival text, last updated equals. So let's see if we can pop a new line in there. And let's do an open parentheses and a closed parentheses. So we're doing a new line, getting the string of that, and the last updated, and a closed parentheses. Okay, now we can see that label is a little bit too small for our purposes. Let's go ahead and say local label height equals. Now, I don't know what the kind of defaults to. Let's see, set size 30. Okay, that's fine. So we can see 30 is too much, so we'll do a height of 20. And then if we're doing this, we'll say label height equals 40. And then we'll go ahead and update the height. Label Barter Festival set height to that calculated height instead of just having a static one. Okay, great. So we can see there it's twice the size. Now we can see it shrinks back down. It's still small, good anniversary, and it's back up. Awesome. So last updated 2026-05. I think that's going to be much clearer and much more obvious when it gets out of date by a few years, and it'll be easier for me to maintain with all of that. Okay, awesome. So, do we have any other last updateds that we can kind of sneak in here while we're doing this? Don't know. Let's go over to LOTRO interface. We'll go over to Festival Buddy 2, and then let's see. Had a quick ad for spring. Updated anniversary harvest math barter items. Well, that's funny. Well, sure. Let's go ahead and get harvest math in there then. I feel like I updated the spring barter items as well. Did I not? Updated spring barter list. There we go. Okay. So this was March. So let's go ahead and fill that in. So let's find spring. Great. And we're going to go ahead and say last updated equals, and that was March. What else do we have? Barter items. All right, harvest math. That was November of 2025. So 2025 November. Apparently, I said also anniversary, which just seems wacky to me unless I hadn't released anything recently. Always possible. All right, updates the Yule 2024 barter items. Have I really not updated since then? It's quite possible. All right, we're going to leave it there. Barter items. Okay. It's possible that I haven't, but let's check a different resource. So we're going to go into Documents, the Lord of the Rings Online, excuse me, Plugins, Cute Plugins, that's me, Festival Buddy, and Source Files. And we're going to look at the Barter Items and see when were these last updated. All right, Spring, yep, updated. Harvest Math, yep, okay. Yule, 2024. This is going to be really useful for me to see these things. Okay, so let's get Yule in here. Last updated 2024. Okay, Farmer's Fair, also 2024. My, how the time flies. Okay, 2024 what? August. Okay, that's due for a refresh. And then Midsummer. Okay, it was also 2024. June. Yeeh. All right. Well, put that on my hope to-do list. So let's go ahead and unload this. Let's reload it, and let's take a look at what that gets us. All right. So spring, last updated, 2026. 2026. Great. Midsummer. Yee. Farmer's Fair. Ugh. Harvest Math. That's not bad. That's up to date. Yule. Yeek. And Hobnanigans. You know, I don't have a Hobnanigans list. That's very funny. So that predates all of this. Oh, when did Hobnanigans? Okay, well, just out of curiosity. If we come on into our file tree and come to, not source files, Barter Items, and let's go ahead and do a blame/timeline. Because what we really want are, where is Hobnanigans? Line 1800 or so. All right, let's come on into that and scroll on down to line 1800 or so. Okay, so Hobnanigans. Okay. Right, okay. So, before 2023. Fair enough. All right, last updated before 2023, and what was that? Oh no, I closed it. Blame history. December, okay. So this came from a different repository. I broke an existing repository out into its constituent pieces, what seems to be several years ago. So I don't have an exact date on that. I don't need an exact date on that. Hobnanigans. Okay, so yeah, that would have come out, well, before June. Okay. So I don't think Hobnanigans has changed recently. I think I may have checked it more recently than that because of the new system that we're using for this. But that's okay. Like that's something we can do at some point. So in the meantime, we have anniversary. Last updated today. Well, it hasn't been updated yet, but of course it will be. Cool. So, if we are looking at all here, well, let's not look at all. Current anniversary rewards, then we can see that there's a lot of quintessential stuff. And that means cosmetic rewards older. Yeah, okay. The Hat of Baker's Delight was the previous thing we had. It's actually what I am wearing because it is indeed a delight. Highly recommended, especially in Mordor. Really helps you stand out. So we're going to go ahead and say that anything quintessential is newer. All right, I guess let's check that out. How do I like it? Well, that is adorable if you are a little merry person. I don't know that that fits what I'm going for with my Hobbit, but it's very nice. Okay. So, what we want to do is get a sense of what has changed. So let's work backwards. So, Anniversary Steeds Mithril. We can see the Elf of Baker's Delight and the Steed, Green Dragon Inn. So it looks like we just have the quintessential Ranger Steed. Great. Gift boxes, quintessential stuff. Awesome. Cosmetic pets. We have just the quintessential fawn, it looks like. And I believe that's available as mithril from here, but festivity tokens in other places. Essences. Festive Shadow Essence box? Ooh. Chilean scrap of an essence reclamation scroll. I'm not sure that's worth even tracking, but what did I try to do with that? Essence reclamation scroll. Yeah, I didn't actually... I don't think that's worth having in there. So I'll make a mental note to do something about that. Anniversary Steeds, as we open that up, we can see we have a set of quintessential stuff and then the Elk of Baker's Delight. Great. Seasonal Skirmish rewards. Ceremonial Staff of the Searcher, which means we have this is the Tome of the Quintessential Fawn where you can get it for festivity tokens. So I feel like it's a bit misleading under cosmetic pets that it doesn't show up there. I feel like that's a missed opportunity there. And then the Quintessential Rangers pack. Okay, what's that look like? That is cute. Not as good as my scrolls, though, for my character. Once the 4th crafting profession came out, I definitely picked up Scholar. Okay, Housing Items 2. Let's take a look at that. We don't have a Housing Items 2, so that is fascinating. It looks like they've got a Housing Items 1, which starts with the map of the Walls of Moria. Great. And I'm presumably goes all the way through Banner of Baker's Delight. And now they're spilling over into Housing Items 2, so presumably the new stuff will go there. So I haven't checked every single item here, but I'm guessing that's how Housing Items 1 is set up now. Other rewards, no change. Cosmetic rewards. Alright, we need the quintessential stuff here, and then we get into the Hat of Baker's Delight. Cosmetic rewards older. Looks like it's probably just going to be the same stuff. I would like them to stop naming things like newer and older. I don't think it's a good idea, and it reminds me of... Well, a lot of places have this problem, but like in Amsterdam, there's the new church, which distinguishes itself from the old church. But, let's see, New Church, Amsterdam, was built in what year? 15th century. So that's the new church. Oh, I'm sorry. Ground was broken on it in 1385. Distinguished from the old church, of course, the Oude Kerk, which was much older than that. Founded in 1213. So, like, you name yourself, like, the new rewards or the older rewards, and it's just like, why? Why do you set yourself up? There's no such thing as new rewards that are not going to suddenly become the older rewards. So, but that's where we are. So, cosmetic rewards older starts with plated ceremonial and comes on down to Cloak of the Shining Star. Okay. So that's all the same. So if we come down to cosmetic rewards, our Hat of Baker's Delight is there, and so we have the 4 quintessentials above it. But that's, again, a problem. Notice the inconsistency. Here they're adding it to the top of this one instead of at, like, the bottom. And I get it. Like, you want it to be visible. You want people to see it. But that is, of course, why you have a current anniversary rewards. And so, you know, it's fine if the newest stuff is at the top and it all feeds down. But is that what happened here? What's newer? Plated Ceremonial Greaves or, you know, the Fireworks Cloak? I don't know. That's cute. but I'm not a fireworks person. Okay. So we're not going to worry about cosmetic rewards, but we will go ahead and, no, sorry, not the older cosmetic rewards, but we will do cosmetic rewards. We have an update there. Okay. Current anniversary rewards is, of course, going to all change, I assume, because I bet this, yep, is going to kick everything else out. That was the new hotness. Now we have different current anniversary, and that's fine. I like that. If everything that was new showed up here, that sounds like a great system. And here you can see both of the tomes of the quintessential fawn, both festivity tokens and mithril are showing up. I think that's awesome. Like I said, I think it's a mistake that it doesn't show up in the cosmetic pets, although none of the ones for festivity tokens do show up here. But, you know, if you're going to have them listed at all, why not just throw it everywhere? I don't know. Seems weird. Cool. And then we have the 19th anniversary items, which is different from the current anniversary rewards, apparently. So we're going to add that tab as well. And, you know, it's fine calling it out. 19 is a nice round number. I get why they're doing that. But it does mean we'll have another tab to do. Okay, so now we've got a summary of what we're trying to do with these changes. So, as always, we're going to do our terrible method of constructing large Lua tables by coming on into Excel. Like I was saying on Little Redhead stream, if you can involve a spreadsheet, why wouldn't you? Okay, so what we're going to do is remind ourselves how this works. What's the purpose of this? Why would we do this to ourselves when there's a perfectly good code editor right here? Well, the problem, as always, is that in order to have a predictable iteration through a Lua table, you need to have numerical indices. There's a function, iPairs, you toss it a table, and you can iterate through it from 1 to n until you get to a gap. So if, for instance, we messed up and this was supposed to be 100 or 11 and it was accidentally 1100, then the iPairs would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It would fail to find an 11 and it would stop. So you can't have any gaps. You can have duplicates, but it won't give you a result that you're happy with. One of them will overwrite the other one. And it's very tedious. If I wanted to add something in the middle here, right here, the index of every subsequent item has to be bumped up by exactly 1, or this breaks. So that is very error prone. So we're not going to do that. We're going to instead let a spreadsheet do it. So the spreadsheet's in charge of calculating that numerical index based on what row we are in the spreadsheet, which is just a call to row -1 because we don't want to include the headers here. And it can be in charge of that. And whenever we insert stuff, the spreadsheet can sort out what that means. And as I mentioned before, there's got to be a better way to do this. I just don't know what it is. And I do know spreadsheets, so that is why I'm doing this. Your mileage may vary, but I wouldn't recommend trying to do the table constructions by hand, whatever you do. A better method might be like having an actual database and having some sort of script that runs against that actually builds this up. But that feels like overkill for a list of game items. So here we are. Okay, so the one other thing I want is a way to look up item IDs from item names. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to load up my LOTRO ID lookup, which I'm going to believe is this one. Let's go ahead and start this up. And it's going to add in some keys and enter a label. Let's go ahead and double check that we have the right one. So I'm going to go ahead and all right, remove the brackets around that one. Tome of that. Great, we have an ID, so everything seems to be working with that. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Well, it means we're going to do what's a little bit of a manual process here. Until such time that someone can just dump out this list more elegantly. So he goes, this is one of those spread thingies, can't spell it. Well, just for your reference, and this isn't meant to be a correction, but if you are looking for the English spelling, it is spreadsheet, one word. I've typed it there into chat. But yes, I think every language has their own word for this incredibly useful thing, and that's fine. Okay, so what we want to do is figure out where we are different. And of course, when I'm working on something like this myself at home, I've got two different monitors. So I'll have the game client up on one, and I'll have a lot of these other ones up on the other monitor. But streaming two monitors seems unsociable to do. And also doesn't let me have my workplace over here where I've got things like the streaming software set up. So just bear in mind, if you're doing this at home, I wouldn't recommend trying to do it all on one screen unless you're on the road using a laptop or something. Spread out, use your real estate if you're so fortunate enough to have more than one monitor. I highly recommend it. I know some people who swear by large form factor monitors, so one single huge monitor instead of two monitors. That's fine, whatever. I think you can do some fun things with games where you don't have this little split down the center of the screen, but I do really like using keyboard shortcuts that will allow me to slam windows against a docking point in on the monitors. So I can go on the right side, I can go on the left side here, and while it might be possible to do that with a large factor window, I know it's seamlessly easy to do that with two monitors instead of one large monitor. So hopefully those people with one large monitor can still move to part way beyond the right middle, and left side. If not, that'd be very sad. But for me, this is Windows. So if you're holding down the Windows key, which is the key between the Control and the Alt on the left side of the keyboard, hold down Windows and press the right arrow key to move that window to the sort of the next thing to the right. And then you can Windows left to kind of undock it, Windows left again to dock it to the next left thing. And then it can go over here to the other screen that you can't even see. Windows down to minimize it. Of course, now I've lost it. Windows up to maximize it. Windows down to unmaximize it. Stuff like that. So highly recommend if you're on a Windows system and you haven't played around with those kinds of keyboard shortcuts to rapidly position windows around, very useful. Now, if you were seeing the sort of the task manager thing that was coming up there, it was offering, hey, you just docked something on the right side of the screen. Would you like to go ahead and dock something else on the left side so they perfectly fill up half of the screens, one each? And sometimes I do want it to do that. Oftentimes I don't, so I'll just hit escape or whatever, click away. But that's what Windows is offering is, hey, pick one of these other ones to go ahead and slam up there with it. So for instance, I was looking at the Oude Kerk in Amsterdam. So if I wanted to go ahead and do that, and then I'll also maximize the spreadsheet over on the other side of the window, then that's what I've just done there. Cool. Not what I wanted to do right now, but, nice. Oops. So many things. Now, one thing that does bother me about this system is if you snap to a side and then you kind of forget that the window is snapped to the side and you're like, okay, I'm going to make it bigger, I'm going to make it a little bit shorter, cool. Oh, I kind of want to move it to another place. Windows still thinks it's anchored to the bottom right. And when you break that connection, when you're like, nope, it's no longer on the bottom right, Windows will be like, cool, I'll just restore it to the size it was before we anchored the window. Boop. Okay, that wasn't very obvious because I had made it very different. So I break the anchor point and Windows is like, oh cool, I'll just restore it to where it was before. Which is simultaneously like, cool that you remembered that, but read the room. I just spent 5 minutes resizing this window to be perfect before I broke that connection. And anyway, I wish there was, if there's not a way to do it that I don't know, I wish there was a way to be like, no, keep the size I had already made it be. But that's such a nitpick. You just got to remember to break that connection first and then resize it if that's what you're going to do. Or be sad. That's fine. It's good exercise. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to start filling in new things. So we're at Frithbert here. And so we want to fill in a new category and the stuff that's under it. I'm just going to guess how many items there are. 19th anniversary items. Cool. Now, this is necessarily English because that's what I'm typing, and I'm being very lazy about translating this into the other languages, but we could kind of catch what these categories are in French and German, but I don't have a good way to copy paste them out of the game, and I would be very worried about typos, and no one's complained about it so far, so but that is a thought that's in my head. Cool. We can see here that we have some stuff. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to drag my window down just so you can see what's going on here, is if you control right click an in-game item, you link it into chat. Awesome. That sounds great. But that means you can copy paste it from chat. So I'm just going to link stuff until it stops linking. So red rose hedge, white rose hedge. We're almost at the bottom here. Cattails. Cool. So that's all of the items in this category. So I'm going to click on down into the chat. I'm going to cut that text, and then we're going to take it into a text editor. In this case, Sublime Text, but whatever your favorite is. I'm going to find all the close bracket, open brackets, and get rid of them. I'm going to find the open and the close, and there we go. We're ready to go ahead and pass this into the ID finder. And we now have our IDs. So we're going to take all of that into our spreadsheet here. Cool. So that's what we have for the first category. Now, we did a no-no in Excel. We inserted lines. That's going to mess up our formulas. So the last thing we're going to do before we're done, and just as a demonstration, we're going to go ahead and, well, that's about as wide as we need. We're going to remember to copy down all the formulas that are off here on the side so that they get fixed appropriately. That's just a thing with Excel formulas. If you manually move things around, if I grab this and move this around, Excel's going to find any formula that was referencing that cell and update that formula, whether you wanted it to or not, unless you do more than just the basic dragging of that cell. So just be aware of that. Copying the text out into a different location, Excel treats that very differently from us saying, hey, I'm just going to move this around. This tells Excel, hey, we're going to update every formula that was pointing at that old cell, and any formulas that were pointing at the new cell are just smashed. So that's not great. Okay, so that's the 19th anniversary. Great. Current anniversary purchases. How that's different from the 19th anniversary, I don't know, but it is different, so okay. So we're going to come into current anniversary rewards. Oh, that we already have that category. So we're going to delete these lines. Deleting lines generally is fine for Excel. It is going to sort of sort itself out unless a formula that still exists was explicitly pointing at one of those cells that you just deleted. It's not going to be happy with that. So if this was actually here, we'll just make a new formula. So equals this. So if we do that and then we go ahead and delete all these, it's going to be unhappy because it's an invalid reference. So it's referring to something that doesn't exist anymore. But for us, all of our formulas in this are the same row referencing. So let's go ahead and see what we're missing. Okay, so a current anniversary rewards, we know it's just going to be completely overwritten. And we can see it's all on one page. So how many do we have here? We have, oh, I missed it. 18 rows. Cool. Cool. Let's go ahead and add 2 more. Oh, and we didn't actually get the costs for things. Okay, we'll want to circle back around for that. Okay, so current anniversary rewards. We're going to do the same thing. So we are going to control right click things until we have exceeded the length of text allowed in one of these lines. Okay. And we'll know that because it just won't add anything. Okay, we're there. So we got to the mantle. So we're going to come on down into the chat, select all the text, cut it, and we're going to bring it into something like this. So again, same basic transformation. Now we can actually just wait until we have everything though. So we stopped at the mantle. So we're going to go ahead and get the Ranger's Garb, that box, Barstool Painting, Ranger's Pack, Quintessential Fun. Okay, so we're going to come back in, grab that, and there we go. So we can go ahead and again change every close bracket, open bracket into a new line character. Go ahead and kill the initial opening close, and we can see we actually only have 17 lines, so we're doing good here. So let's go ahead and get that into our spreadsheet. Great. And then we want to go ahead and get the IDs here as well. So we're going to paste all that in. We're going to get those IDs, grab them, and paste those in as well. Now, what I was mentioning, the cost for these things, let's go ahead and grab the cost. So, we don't need all of this. Well, do we? No. Okay, so, Tome of the Ginger Murai Herding Dog. Great. So that's Anniversary, and then it's also Mithril, Tome of the Dusky Parrot. I'm going to guess there's some duplication here. So I'm going to, okay, 50-30. Oh, Tome of the Brown Jerboa is 120 steel tokens. Is that one? Yeah, okay. It's a steel. Or it is 30 mithril. Elder Song says, hello, hello. We are documenting the barter items for the Anniversary Festival in Festival Buddy 2. So, the hedges. There's more steel tokens here, so 40 steel tokens, 10 mithril. Looks like that's going to be the same for all of these. 40, 40, 40, 10, 10, and 10. Elder Song says, came for the LOTRO, stayed for the spreadsheet. Isn't that how it always goes? It's not quite spreadsheets in space, but it is spreadsheets in Bree Town. Well, as I mentioned, this is the best way I have for generating huge blocks of Lua tables with this information, but I'm sure there's better ways out there. Okay, so actually a lot fewer anniversary tokens than I was expecting, lots of steel tokens. Now, if you are just playing on LOTRO during the Anniversary Festival, you will accumulate steel tokens from defeating enemies. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head if they have to be on level or if gray enemies will count. But if you're just adventuring naturally in LOTRO, you're probably going to be getting some of these just accumulating. Unfortunately, if you really need them and you don't have them, you do just have to go out into the world and defeat enemies or missions. Missions are a great source because by definition, except for some wacky hijinks, the enemies will be on level with you. And, you know, they're pretty short. They're usually combat heavy, but not always. Thank you. Tillian says steel tokens will drop off of any defeated enemy. So, good to know. But yeah, if you're just like, oh, I need to do something, maybe pop into a mission. You'll get cool rewards and potentially steel tokens. Or one of the mini Anniversary Festival. Well, I guess Anniversary Festival only has the one instance, but that instance does have combat. So if you hop into a flurry of fireworks, you're going to have a chance to get some steel tokens off of some mobs and help Gandalf with a fireworks problem. Oh yeah, and Tillian points out, we are getting 19-year gifts off of things kind of randomly. Now, the gifts, I think I probably have gotten all of them at this point. I have accumulated an extra 3 Tomes of the Overgrown Boglurkers, 6 Green Dragon frames that I haven't accidentally consumed. Do watch out for these. There's a big warning in red there. If you have already acquired the portrait frame, you can still use this item. I really wish they had managed to make it not work that way, but I can appreciate that generally you just get a frame, it's auto-consumed, you're getting them out of boxes or anniversary presents or deed completions or whatever. Like actually getting an item that you can give to other characters on your account, that's cool. That feels pretty unique to me. But it does come with that caveat that you can just chow down on these things with no limit, and it doesn't give you any extra benefit. So just make notes somewhere, maybe in a spreadsheet, of which of your characters have the Green Dragon frame, which need them. I'm just waiting until the Anniversary Festival ends. I thought that was going to be today, but next week. And then I'll go through my characters in my internal priority order. So it's not alphabetical, but it's like, oh, my my Guardian is the next most important after my Main, and then my Hunter, and then my Bjorning, and then my Burglar, and so on. So I have a list in a spreadsheet, of course, that'll tell me what order of priority everyone gets that. But it is bound to account, so it's only going to be my characters on this server, and that simplifies things. I don't have to try to like, oh, which of my friends deserves this portrait frame? Doesn't matter, they can't have it. I'm going to do the same thing with the Overgrown Boglurker. I just have fewer of those so far. I didn't really appreciate the Hat of Shame, so I have just been selling those as I get them. And I can't remember if there's anything else. Oh yeah, Tillian points out LOTRO Companion might get a portrait list soon. I know they have made good success there. I don't really use LOTRO Companion a lot for my alt. I don't play my alts nearly so much. This is my completionist character, and I'm still working my way through the game content, and so my alts tend to be there for crafting purposes, for ingredient crate purposes, for storage purposes. I don't know if you saw, but in my move to other characters bucket, there's a lot of ancient script and sealed traceries and essences. Actually, the essences are just waiting to get sorted into carry-alls, but still, this is a deal with bucket. Once my capacity gets up to about 350, then I just sort it all out and pass it all off to alts and get that number down into the high hundreds, and then just start the accumulation process over again. Okay, cool. So we have a list for this. We need the prices for the current anniversary rewards. So we're going to come on in here. We can see that we have, this is the festival tokens. So that's 40, it's 70 in Mithril, and then the quintessentials comparison, 25, headpiece 20, saddle 15. The war steed, that's another 70. And then 10, 10, 10. 10, 10, 10, 10, 25, 10, 20. Okay, that's going to be festivity tokens. Yeah, okay. So festivity tokens, 20, and great. Also 20 and 30 mithril coins. Up at the top here, it does say all these things, and I think I should probably make them smaller so I can read more of them. I'm not sure that actually helped. Well, that's better. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, so we have the prices for the new stuff. Then what's next in here? Cosmetic rewards older. As we mentioned, there's nothing new here that we can see. Let's just double check though. We start with plated ceremonial greaves. Let's get that over there. And then we come on down to teal spark maker's pack. That should be the first 20. Yep. And then Reveler's Cloak of the Odokill. All the way down here, then we have another 20. That makes sense. Each of these pages has at most 20 items in it. Cloak of the Shining Star. So that was the older stuff, and that should lead us to cosmetic rewards, the newer stuff. Hat of Baker's Delight, again, the pinnacle of cosmetics. No need to go higher, but just in case, we do have the quintessential garb. We have 4 new items. Let's go ahead and carve out room for them, and then do our thing. So control right click to get those into chat. That lets me start this process without needing to type a bunch of things. I have typed in these names before. It gets old real fast. Much rather copy paste, and then you know you haven't misspelled anything. Okay, so these are the 4 items that are coming in. And then we need the item numbers, so let's grab those. And then we need the costs, which we can see sure look like they are 10 across the board. Okay, so that's the cosmetic rewards. Awesome. Other rewards. I believe the answer was no. Mighty Ram down to Rainbow Anniversary Fireworks. Awesome. Housing items. Now this is a change. This is going to be housing items 1. And again, map of the walls of Moria. If we get the first 20 of them, that should end at the large Moria mirror. Great. Coming on into the Watchful Raven statue. Down to, oh, that's a good question. 20, that takes us down to the banner of Baker's Delight. Great. So, we know that that's fine, but now there's a housing items too, which that is great. I do appreciate them just using numbers to sort these in some sort of sensible fashion. What seems to be very clear is that LOTRO lists like this always sort alphabetically based on, well, not alphabetically. Okay, they do have the way a way to sort drop downs not alphabetically because 19th and current are at the top. But in a lot of places like quest dialogues, things seem to be sorted alphabetically. And so when you're selecting missions, and it's missions 1 through 10, and 10 gets sorted at the top, it's like you need a way to specify sort order as distinct from display order. You're killing me, but that's okay. Housing items 2. That's the important thing. We have only 3 things here, so let's go ahead and make room for 4, including the category itself. And we're just going to copy that category name, modify it for 2, and then we're going to get these 3 items. 1, 2, and 3. Great. Okay, so we're going to come on in. Again, we're just doing the same modification as we're always doing. One could even make a macro out of it, but I find it useful to practice this sort of manipulation because it comes in handy in all sorts of different ways. Nope, I didn't actually mean to maximize that. I was just trying to get it visible from behind me. Okay, so we've got those 3 items. We're going to come request the IDs, and we've got the IDs. Okay. So we do need cost for each of these. It appears to be 25 and 10 and 20. I am in the count category. That doesn't seem great. Why am I in the count category? Oh, that's not going to be right at all. Yeah, okay. Well, good to know. So we're going to go ahead and move all of that over and fix a long-standing bug that I didn't realize was there. Cool. Let's double check the other rewards though. So we can see 5 for 1, 5 for 5, 5 for 5. That's all fine. Again, 5 for 5 up here. Yep. Okay. So that was just me not paying attention. All of these, you only get 1 of the thing. Great. And housing items 2. 25, 10, and 20. Awesome. So, the seasonal skirmish rewards, is that the next thing? Anniversary, it is. So we are going to make a change here, and generally things are available for festivity tokens or the hamster for mithril. And this is another weird place where it's like, I'm sure some of these are also available for mithril. I know some of the quintessential fun is. So, that inconsistency is just bugging me. Jillian says, currently all my characters that have the green dragon frame will have it on display. Well, now you've got me curious because I haven't actually taken a look at that. I'm currently using the one of the birding frames, so let's take a look at that. I'm currently using the Flock of Feathered Friends frame. That is shiny. I don't think that's one I'm going to use in favor of the birds for me, but I can see why someone would like that. Oh yeah, so the birding frames. Other song says, ooh, I never saw the birding one before. Cute. Yeah, so the first one you get is just a single bird frame right there. And then once you skill up a little bit, you get a brace of birds. You get the 2 birds. And so these are reflecting, I believe, your progress through the 200 ranks of birding, maybe. I have to double check. You can get, of course, the 3 birds. Then the Birder's Delight, which is 4 birds. And what I have, which might be the final one, I've lost track, a Flock of Feathered Friends, which is the 5 birds. So you get all 5 of them. And so you can see it growing as you go. So I like that. Well, that's interesting. Is the frame mirrored over here? It's not mirrored. It is mirrored. Okay, that bird is looking right. That one's looking in, out. Huh, I didn't notice before that the frame got mirrored for your target. Okay. Anyway, yeah, those are some birding frames, and I want to say, if you come into Class Race Epic, race and... No, obviously it's going to be under hobbies. What am I doing? So, I don't think it was any of these deeds. You get satisfaction and outfits from most of those. Ooh, bird of the hand. From the Shire? I need to go birding in the Shire, apparently. You get a bird in your hand! That's great. Oh, it's a different bird each time. Oh, you could get a corvet in your hand. Who cares about these other small ones? Okay, well, I'm only seeing 2 birds so far. It's possible it only rotates between these, or maybe get you other ones? Still. Okay. Apparently I need that. Okay, I didn't realize that was there. Uh, so, alright, none of those do it. So if I go coming into my hobbies, birding, maybe it's from progressing through birding then. In which case, I'm not at 200 yet, so I might be missing some things. I was playing around with making some changes to a different plugin author's birding app to tell me the timing of the various calls, and then life got in the way, so I just kind of put things on pause there. Okay, so housing, great. We haven't fixed that yet. Oh, yeah, it's still in spreadsheet form. Okay, so the anniversary, we need the quintessential stuff. We have up to the ceremonial staff of the searcher, so there's only 2 items here. So we're going to go ahead and get that into the chat so that we can copy that into here. So that's coming on to here, inserting those 2 lines, then grabbing those IDs. Now we already have those IDs in other places, but we can just requery. Okay, and these are going to be festivity tokens for 20 and 20. Great. So that's that category. Let's look into anniversary steeds. We can see Elk of Baker's Delight. So we have 4 items above it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go ahead and insert 4 there, and then Control right click. And again, we're just going to come in and do some manipulation here. So copy the names of those in here, copy them in here to grab those IDs, put them in here, and then we can see these are 40, 25, 20, and 15 festival tokens. Okay, so that's that category. We'll keep going. Essences. I want to delete this one. I think just saying you can do essence reclamation scrolls is enough to get people over here. Adding new currencies is non-trivial because of the way Festival Buddy is set up. And so, as long as that's the case, adding these Athelian scraps of essence reclamation, adding these fragments of shadow essence, I don't think the buck or the bang is worth it for the buck. Oh, checking my loots in chat says, howdy y'all, hello! Loving little template comes up for the fireworks helps a lot. I'm so glad to hear that. That one was a lot of fun to make, and it's a slight irritation that with the new scaling system, I can't just automatically scale it alongside your UI yet. But it's on my head to go ahead and offer a scaling option so that if you have made your toolbars bigger, that we can at least match it if you tell us about it. At some point in the future, they may give plugins the access to what those settings are, in which case we'd be able to do it automatically, but we're not there yet. So, hey, little one. Yeah? What are you up to? Yeah? Okay. You can go bother little redhead. Okay, so Essence Reclamation Scroll, that's fine. Yeah, the Festive Shadow Essence box is interesting. Alright, I should know more. LOTRO Festive Shadow Essence Box. What are you? Officer, so one of the following Tier 10 Empowered Shadow Essences. Minimum level 115. Okay. Frostbluff, Party Tree, Games Master. Alright, where do these come from? And it's multiple festivals too. Was a reward from opening a pouch of Shadow Essence fragments. Okay, can you get that? You can't. Was a reward for In the Spirit of Yule. Yeah, I'm content with not including that. Okay, so that's essences. So cosmetic pets, great. We need the quintessential fawn again. You know what? I am going to go ahead and just cheat, such as it is, and come back up and get the quintessential fawn out of something. Tome and the quintessential fawn. Great. And we know it's 30 minutes per coin. Okay. So that's done. And then we're coming on into gift boxes. That one is new enough. So we're going to go ahead and control right click that to get into chat. A box. Then come on in here. Trim off those brackets. And get the ID. Looks like we already had it one place. Alright. And that's going to be 10. Great. Alright, Anniversary Steeds, Mithril, last category. So, quintessential, there's 2 of them before the Elk Baker's Delight. I foolishly only added 1 line. And yeah, we've already grabbed these, so I think we could go ahead and get those in other ways, but we'll copy them out. It's good practice. Range Steed, War Steed. What? I felt like I had double-clicked something in there. And the answer was yes, there were 2 things in there. Okay, so we have those. We have our IDs. We know our cost, which was 70 each. Great. All right, so that is all the item updates that we needed from here. So let's go ahead and get those into, or out of Excel and into the actual file. And so like I was saying, whenever you're doing inserts into your Excel spreadsheet, you're introducing gaps where these formulas don't exist unless you've done something very special. So we want to go ahead and just make sure that we have recopied down all the formulas. And we can see here, yes, they are there. So that we can go ahead and copy from here and come on into our barter items. So we want to leave that last updated, and we're going to come on down here, and we're going to see previously we had 377 items, and now there's 406. Great. So what is that? Something like 25? So at that point, we should be able to refresh our plugin, unload and reload, and do a quick spot check on things. So, Tome of the Ginger Mariah Herding Dog, awesome, Dusky Parrot, and we can see we're getting the right currencies for those. Great, okay. So, Quintessential Ranger Steed for all of those. More Steed Cosmetics, Ranger's Boot. All that looks great. Okay. Now, one thing we're not doing is showing how much of the thing that we have. We're just showing how much it costs. And we can see over here that this one's like, you've got 0 out of 20. That could be useful, but we're not set up for that right now. Okay, let's look at the older ones. Yeah, no change there. Let's look at the cosmetic rewards. That's our quintessential stuff. Down to the Helm of Crystal Resolve. Nope. Hooded, tasseled, ceremonial cloak. Okay, great. Other rewards. All right, no real changes there. Housing rewards. Fixed how that was. Great. That actually comes on down all the way to the Banner of Baker's Delight. Cool. Okay, so we're going to shrink that down. Housing items 2. Quintessential bar, barstool, and ranger's painting. Great. Seasonal skirmish rewards. We do have the quintessential pack and fawn now. Great. Anniversary steeds. Quintessential 1, 2, 3, and then down to elk. Essences. We've just got the 1 right now for 60. That's fine. Cosmetic pets. Quintessential fawn. Baker's, Sienna. Okay. Gift boxes. Yep. Quintessential. And finally, anniversary steeds. Quintessential, done. So, little spot checking tells us that everything that we think should be in the barter list is in the barter list. So we now have our last updated. Except that's just one of the 3 vendors that are available here. Let's come take a look at who else we have. Oh my goodness, this tent. All right, Henry Pear Tree. I feel like I've done that deed. Okay, so we have anniversary steeds. We can see we need that quintessential stuff. All right, let's get to it. Now, good news is we already have some of that. So anniversary steeds, quintessential ranger steed, comparison, headpiece, and saddle. We're going to go ahead and copy that. Oh, that was too early. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and insert that. And go regrab. Okay. Okay, so we have those, and 40, 25, 20, and 15 for the tokens. Awesome. And then we'll get into the Elk of Baker's Delight. Now let's come on down to the Mithril. Okay, for these, this is actually very similar. Quintessential Ranger Steed and War Steed Cosmetics. Oops. We're going to go ahead and copy all of them. Nope, we're going to remember to make room for them. And then we're going to copy these down. Okay. So, that is all for this barter, Henry Pear Tree. The last one is Angeline Green Pasture, Keeper of Gifts, who has a new category. Fortunately, I've already seen these. Phew. Okay, so we need a new category, but this category looks like it is just the same category. Very confusing. So we know that this is 13 rows. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and insert the copied cells. And 50, 30, 50, 30, 120, 30, 40, 10, 40, 10, 40, 10. Great. Well, that makes it super easy when they duplicate stuff like that. Let's move on to the misc gifts. We got some new stuff. Okay, we have friend shot fireworks. As far as I know, there's no deed related to firing these off. So we're going to go ahead and copy this out. Now, this is friend shot fireworks, consumable. And let's see if we can find that. Okay, good news. We can find that ID. So this is friend shot fireworks consumable. And we get 5 of them for 10 tokens. I'm kind of curious what they look like. Wait. These are given to you if you have the 19-year gift. But it's a bauble. There it is. Okay. So if you are curious, like I just was, of what these look like, let's come and take a look. I like this one because it's a double shot firework kind of. So let's get off of our mount and go ahead and send this up. And what we're going to see is we shoot a bow. Where'd it go? Ah, sorry, I wasn't prepared. We shoot a bow and then it shoots another arrow. Can I do it again? Yay, no 5-minute cooldown. Okay, back up this time. So firework comes up, it makes a bow. The bow pulls back and shoots and gives you more fireworks. I like that one a lot. I'm not a shoot fireworks all the time person, but if I were, that one would be on the list. Okay, so great. That was Miss Gifts. So we have that now. Now we come on down to anniversary gifts. We have the battle gift box and the legendary gift box. I forget what those are. LOTRO battle gift box. Okay, so if you are level 100 plus, it can have cool stuff like that. And the legendary gift box, if you're 100 plus, you can have stuff like that. That's not actually bad. Yeah, those are useful. All right, legendary. Give me one. Okay, in my legendary gift box, I got an enhancement runes. Maximum level 160. All right, that's fair enough. Except that takes up room in my shared storage. Other than that, though. Cool. Okay. So that's the anniversary gifts. Let's come look at cosmetics. I'm guessing that it'll be pretty similar. All right, yeah. Simple carrying torch down to fancy waistcoat. Cosmetics 2. Forester's hauberk down to sleeveless elven tunic. Yep, okay. And finally, festival token exchange. Okay. What do I have in this character? We can see that I have a lot of Yule tokens because I'm a sucker for Yule. So if you're looking for a box of festival tokens, when you buy it, so I'm going to buy one for 25 Yule tokens, when you open it up, you get to select what you're pulling out. Now this is, canonically, or generally, historically, has been affected by the Fateful Toolkit, which gives plus 10% wallet barter tokens for Festival and Landscape through Gundabad. So these Festival tokens, if I'm going to pull out something useful, like anniversary tokens, it says 6, that's going to be plus 10%, rounded up to the nearest whole number, so 7. 7, there we go. And then if I got something different, so for instance, if I wanted to take a real advantage of that, getting the Farmers Fair tokens, the 1.2 times 10% is going to be an extra, 12 times 10% is going to be an extra 1.2. That rounds up to 2. So 12 actually becomes 14 with the Fateful Toolkit. So if you do have that, it comes from the Fate of Gundabad Ultimate Subscribers Bundle or something like that. And, you know, it's not game-breaking, but it is nice to get that little boost whenever you're talking about Festival or Landscape Barter tokens. Cool. Okay. So we are done with Angeline then. So let's go ahead and get these updated things, updated tables into LOTRO. So, well, into our plugin. So we have... Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and make sure that these are updated all the way down. Okay, great. In fact, we'll make that bigger. And we want to go ahead and copy 426 now. Okay. So, just to prevent this system from doing weird things with indents, we're going to go ahead and delete that and then paste that in. We have 426. Great. So let's come on in and reload the plugin. And there we go. So we have anniversary steeds. We have the quintessential stuff here. Quintessential there. Great. Angeline, we have the 19th anniversary items. And we have the friend shot fireworks. And no other changes there. Awesome. So that's a complete overhaul of the, well, not overhaul, but an update of the barter items. Hey, wait a second. What do I have? Oh, steel tokens, right. I don't have a lot of anniversary tokens. I do not find the anniversary festival grabs me as deeply as Yule, as even the spring one recently in Klager, and definitely some of the other ones. Farmer's Fair, Midsummer, all these ones where basically you can get on a character and within a small area you can easily do 10, 12 quests, whatever it is. I find those compel me specifically a lot more than Anniversary, which is a little bit more spread out, fewer quests, you're only doing 7 for the wrapper. As Little Red had demonstrated, it's quite possible to do that, especially if you just do the gift route plus a little extra, and you can do that a couple times a week. But it's just not scratching that same itch of get on and do a consolidated cluster of quests the way Yule and Frostbluff does. So that's just a me thing. So if you are enjoying Anniversary Festival, that's great. But that's part of why I don't have a lot of Anniversary tokens. But with the Keeper of Gifts, with the token exchange, I can take my surplus of spring tokens, or especially Farmers Fair tokens or Yule tokens, and build up whatever I need here in Anniversary Token Land. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our source code, or sorry, our source control, and see where we're at. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, and coming in to fork. So we're going to take a look at this. Settings. Okay. Updated plugin. No. Is it a plugin? Extension? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and commit that. Okay, so we're doing two things here. So added last updated notes for each festival. And that's going to be this. It's going to be this, that, and that. And we want it to be just this edition here in Anniversary. So let's go ahead and add that. Scroll on down, and that, and that. That's just here in the barter items. Hey, you know what? Let's unstage that one. That doesn't work. Okay. And then in the barter window, we'll go ahead and... You know what? I was not even noticing that that dark green bar is still there. Let's fix that. Barter items anniversary, last updated spring. There we go. Looks better. Okay. So we're going to stage that, and we're going to stage this. And then in our strings, we need the last updated. Okay. So we've got that. And in fact, we can do a readme change as well. Version 2.2.2 changes. Barter window. Added last updated note entry, I'll call it, for each festival. Okay, and we'll go ahead and get that too. So we'll commit that, and then we have that and updated anniversary barter items.
So that's this, and that is this. All right, that is a debug thing. That is a debug thing. And this is that. All right. Add a updated anniversary barter items. Barter item doesn't need to be like that. Barter items. Okay. And that can be our commit message also. Cool. Let's push that out. Okay. Neat. So, it is nighttime in game. It's evening. Let's go take a look at what Checkin' My Loots was talking about with the template that Festival Buddy offers. Now, let's go ahead and, well, I wouldn't even bother. We're on spring right now. If you pick up an anniversary quest, Festival Buddy will go ahead and auto-detect that and switch you to the correct festival. So we'll go ahead and do that here in a moment. Okay, so we go ahead and accept Fireworks and Bree. That switches us over to Anniversary. Kind of feels like we should get the festival wrapper or something. Okay, so here's what we see. We have a little bar here in the middle of things. There we go. Oh. Great. Okay. I want to leave them not on top of each other for a minute for reasons, but let's dazzle the crowd with a firework that isn't red. Cool. The one on the left is red, so we need it to be isn't red, so it'll be any of the other ones. The usage case is you go ahead and overlay these directly on top of each other, and then send up a blue firework. This is the perfect time for one. Cool. That one's blue. One of my big problems with this is that I never had a really instinctive push towards which one of these is blue or yellow or, I don't even know, orange? No, that one's yellow. Really? That one's green. Yeah, that's one of the big reasons I do this. So instead, we just go ahead and overlay the exact same image, except that ours will highlight which ones we care about. Super easy. We just actually have a green thing in each one of these four things, and we just toggle which ones are on or off. A firework that is red. Cool. That one's red. And that one's green, blue, and yellow. Part of my problem is they're just not in RoyGBib order. Why? Yeah, anyway. So, that is a thing. But with a new UI scaling system, if you come on into UI scaling and then come on down to toolbar, where'd it go? Toolbar. You can scale your toolbars, which also will scale this thing. And as a plugin, we don't know about that. So the last thing I'd like to do now is go ahead and offer some scaling. We already have a main window scaling option in here. And so we just need to go ahead and add a similar thing for this. Boop, boop, boop. Cool. Yeah. So let's go ahead and edit the options so that there's a new option underneath main window scaling for fireworks scaling. I don't even know if there's a better spot for that. I don't think there is. I'll just put all the scaling together. Okay, so let's come on into the code and take a look for that. Options window. I'm going to close the barter window in Barter Items and README for right now. So if we search for main window scaling, we can see in strings we have this, main window scaling, great. We're in options, and so we want to go ahead and just have something similar. So this is going to be fireworks in Bree scaling, something like that. And for this, In game, if you hover over this thing, it says it is the event quick slots. The problem with calling it the event quick slots is I don't think it's obvious what that means. Instead, I like to call it what is in the game, which is toolbar. So we're going to call it toolbar scaling, actually. Toolbar scaling, English. All right, toolbar scaling. And I don't know what that is in German, but Google will provide me with an option. I don't like it. So we're going to go ahead and hold off on translating that until we get a chance to look and see what does the French and German client call that. Because we can look at toolbar right here, and then we can come on up to the top, and we can say, okay, UI scale. What words are they using in game so that we can reflect those as well? So it says, what are you looking for? Yeah, so we're talking about the UI scale specifically for toolbar, what affects the stuff here at the bottom of the screen, and also the fireworks in Bree event quick slot. And so I want to, in English, I would call that toolbar scaling. But I could also see calling it, scale : toolbar. That's fine too. So, in fact, if that was UI settings, scale toolbar, that's fine too. Like that's very descriptive of where you would find this in the game. So I would just need to know what the German version of UI settings : scale, or actually that could even be UI scale. Okay. UI scale, toolbar. So something like that. So the UI settings, what's that button? UI scale, what is this section title? And then toolbar, what's the German name of the thing what does this? And Tillian, if you're able to provide that, I'll stick the German in right away. Okay. So we have toolbar scaling, at least for English so far. So we need to use where we're using main window scaling. We're going to come on over here, and that's an options window. Okay. So we want to do something very similar. This is in the function draw main window scaling. Great. So let's go ahead and do y equals draw toolbar scaling options y. We don't have a function that's named that yet, but we will. So function that options y. I want to move this below probably, but I just wanted to be able to visually see that one while I'm working. Okay. So draw main window scaling, calculate size information. Okay, some of this is going to be things we don't care about too much because we know right now what the in-game minimum and maximum for the toolbar is. Toolbar, you can go down to 0.4, and you can go up to 4. What's interesting is that it understands which parts of this have a maximum space. So it notices the bar at the bottom is as wide as it can get, and it will still let you blow up the rest of it. I think that's fascinating. Anyway, we know our mins and maxes, so let's go ahead and say local toolbar scale min equals 0.4, local toolbar scale max equals 4.0. So we'll circle back around to that, but knowing how the behavior of the main window one goes, which is basically not letting you make the window bigger than the screen, and it's nice to say, it's nice to be able to say, hey, we don't let you go any bigger than the screen, And we just observed that LOTRO's implementation does the same thing, where they say, okay, you got to the expanse of the screen, and then no. Trumpet in chat says, were HD versions of those icons ever made? I would love them on a t-shirt. So, unfortunately, Trumpet says, I think you answered me once on that question. My brain is not working right now, though. I totally understand. Thanks for asking. So, Standing Stone Games, which took over from Turbine, has limited rights to Lord of the Rings intellectual property. And they are allowed to turn Lord of the Rings into a MMO RPG style video game, but they are not allowed, they say, and they would know, they are not allowed to make merchandise from that they sell with stuff from the game. So they can't capitalize in that way, which I think I can appreciate Middle-earth Enterprises or whoever was licensing it at the time being like, hey, we don't want you to make an in-game Gandalf and then sell a bunch of Gandalf shirts when we could be selling Gandalf shirts that, we have more control over. Things like that. So I guess I can understand where that was coming from and why maybe a license that included merch was probably going to be a lot more expensive and maybe didn't seem worth it for a game that no one knew was going to make it 19 years. Bonkers. Most games don't get a life cycle of 19 years. So, that's what SSG has told us, is they have the licensing to make a game out of Lord of the Rings intellectual property, but not merchandise based on the game, based on the Lord of the Rings intellectual property. And so you'll see every once in a while, Standing Stone Games will make some t-shirts to do giveaways. Like they'll do meetups at PAX or other gaming conventions, and they'll have a couple of shirts to hand out at meetups. It's a very rare thing. Like don't go to a meetup expecting a shirt, but if it happens, it's awesome. It is how I got this shirt that I'm wearing right now, which is a Before the Shadows shirt. I went to a meetup in Germany, and they had a couple of these that they were able to hand out. But that's different than selling for money. So they can do that kind of thing because there's no money being exchanged. Now, Tillerian has provided a German word for toolbar. Awesome. That will save me some effort because I actually had to do the thing in English where I'm like, which control actually controls this bar and what else does it control? So thank you. So we're going to go ahead and come on into German. For our toolbar, and then we'll fill in UI settings and UI scale as we get them. Thanks, Tellurian. And Trumpet Monkey says, totally understandable. I always just wanted my favorite skills on a t-shirt. I totally get it. There's some lovely artwork in this game. I do not work for SSG, and I cannot speak for their legal department, but I suspect if you took some asset from the game and printed up a shirt for your own use that you were not selling for money, and you wore it around, I don't think anyone would come after you about that. I don't know. I have no insider knowledge, but I suspect that would fly under all of the radars. Whereas if you started selling them on Etsy for real money, they might get very picky about that. So if you had the desire to make a t-shirt out of it for your own personal use, I bet you could do that. But yeah, that's why SSG doesn't have a marketing department churning out shirts and t-shirts and mugs and stuff. I personally think like the Standing Stones logo is pretty cool, and I wouldn't mind a shirt with that, but Checking My Lid says, so do you think SSG will ever learn how to spell connection? So SSG, in deference to Tolkien being a British author writing with British spellings, uses a archaic British spelling of connection. So I would say they know very much that there's an English spelling of connection and that there's a old UK style of connection and possibly a newer UK style of connection. And they are defaulting with intent to a spelling of connection that Tolkien himself might have used.
And I think we get to look at it and say, oh, that's fun. Just like spelling wagon with two G's and color with U and neighborhood with U. And, these are Britishisms that are seeping into the text of Lord of the Rings Online because while it is written by a primarily U.S. American citizen style based company, they are writing with that sensibility in mind. Major Lag says, how about Sarah Oakhart walking shoes? There might be, that sounds like a good branding licensing deal, but you should toss that out to Cord and see what he can do. But I think you have a chicken and egg problem because they don't have rights to do things like merch with assets from the game. They have no merch department that I know of to think of these other creative interpretations, and they have no real guarantee that if they bought 1,000 shirts with the Standing Stones logo on it, that they would ever get rid of them all, right? You have boxes of shirts that you have to store somewhere now for years. I've been in that position. Shirts take up a lot of space, and so especially if you have variations, because you can't just buy 1,000 extra large shirts. You want to have options, so you need to buy like 100 XLs and 100 2XLs and 53 XLs and how many mediums do you need? How many smalls do you need? There in the U.S., you have so-called unisex and women's cuts of shirts. Do you need some of each? Probably. And so now instead of having 1,000 shirts, you have like 10 small women's that are maroon and 10 small women's that are black with the logo and 10 medium unisex that are black and 10 medium maroons. And just keeping the inventory is a nightmare. And it's not bad if you have a physical office with a dedicated room, like with shelving units, like with proper labels, and you can organize it all. But a merch order can quickly overwhelm a business that doesn't have a dedicated space for that. And so even something as simple as t-shirts starts becoming not simple as soon as you start thinking about sizes and different colors and different cut styles. And that's just for a single design. Like if they just did a Standing Stone shirt, did a modest order of 1,000 shirts split across 2 different colors, 6 or 7 different sizes, 2 different cuts of the shirt, and you have like 30 different piles of these things. And at some point, you're definitely going to run out of some of them and still have plenty of other ones. And as you do this over and over and over, you maybe get better about estimating what the size and cuts, desires, and the colors are of your audience. But that first run is just a big question mark. And that first run is also the one where you're getting your feet wet on all the other mechanics of ordering t-shirts and stocking and shipping. And now you have to have people who are putting shirts into an envelope and shipping them out the door. And you're a software company. You don't have anyone who does that. It's a whole thing. So every time Cord's like, well, that would be interesting to do, but there's a lot of moving parts. These are some of the moving parts. And I've been adjacent to a small fandom convention doing this kind of thing. They're working on the scale of like a few hundred shirts, and it's still a pain in the butt. And that's not even a huge money outlay. But it is. You have to spend the money to get the shirts before you can start selling the shirts. Jack Mother says, and that's why most companies pay a dedicated third-party vendor to do merch for them. Yeah, there's a legitimate reason why you would outsource this kind of thing. Because if you're a software company trying to do t-shirts in-house, may be a misuse of your of your skill set. Yeah, but that's why it is a complicated thing. And then if you are just dipping your toe into, okay, there's a world of third parties out there, which ones provide good quality and will not leave a bad taste in our customers' mouths, but also won't break the bank with $50 t-shirts? What's the price point? How does that all work? And of course, if there was a point besides just people want the t-shirts, like if you were hoping to make any money off of selling the t-shirts, you are now giving some of that profit away to this third-party company who is managing the merch. And presumably that third-party company is also doing feedback from the customers and like customer support and hearing any complaints that the customers are giving and choosing whether or not to pass those complaints on to the company that is contracted with them. So you may or may not hear that people are angry, although with modern day Discord and forums, they probably would hear. Anyway, all that being said, let's go ahead and move on. Thank you, Telerian, for getting some stuff. Anyway, so that's just a small aside of why ordering a t-shirt to sell is hard. Okay, so we have toolbar scaling. So this function, draw main window scaling, is trying to calculate the maximum extent that we will allow the bar to go. In this case, it was 2.1, because any bigger than that, and the window would be taller than my screen. We don't need to care about that because we can match the scroll bar extents that are in the options window. We know it's going from 0.4 to 4. So let's see if we can do something a little bit simpler. So we have options.main scroll bar label, so we need that. And this scroll bar, some stuff here, and a Y. Okay, let's start with that. So I also need a return Y. Now one could just return Y plus 25. It's fine, whatever. Okay, so scroll bar minimum. Okay, scroll bar maximum. Now, what is set minimum? What's that taking? Awesome. I would like to know more. Okay, that is a scroll bar. Let's come into our documentation. Yeah. What's up, little one? You're just crying? Yeah. There's no one feeding you chicken, and it's a travesty. All right, let's come into a scroll bar. Take a look at these. What? What's up? I know. I know. Do you want someone to play with the rope? Yeah.
I'll check on this next time.
Yeah. All right, well, you got it now. We were teaching, well, we were reminding someone how to do knitting and how to do crochet, and we wanted something very visible. So instead of like these tiny little threads, so we grabbed some rope and we're demonstrating crochet and knitting with the rope. And then Casper decided it was just so fun to play with, which fair enough. Then Order says, I think you need more board games before. I don't know. I feel like we have one or two. We just got this new cabinet here to replace some half height shelves. And now that lots of yarn is in that cabinet, which means this cabinet has more space for some of the board games. So it's still a work in progress. The room's kind of messy. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, just munging words together. But a half-height shelf was back there. Okay, so we know that we're trying to call set minimum. So set minimum. Tell me more. The minimum value of the scroll bar. Killing me. Okay. Scroll bar minimum. Scaling factor. Desired number of steps. It's 100. Max scale. I'm going to, instead of worrying too much about reading that, I'm going to set a minimum to 10 and a maximum to 200 and see what that does. Set the small change. Well, that's a good question. If we come into toolbar, small change is 0.005. Okay. And the large change, if we click here, wait, not if you click there. Well, what's the point of the large change? All right, we'll just do 0.1. All right, we'll pretend like that's going to be 0.4 and 4 and see what happens. All right, we're going to set a value of 1 just for sake of getting something tested. We're going to comment out everything in that function. we just want to see this. Now we do need to go ahead and update the name of this. It's going to be toolbar scaling. And local toolbar scale equals 1. So we're going to go ahead and pass toolbar scale in. We're going to pass that to here as well. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, I think I forgot to rename these things. So, main scaling scroll bar window is going to be replaced with toolbar scaling. Scroll toolbar scaling label, I think, is going to be simpler. And then the, oh yeah. And then the main scaling scroll bar is going to be toolbar scaling scroll bar. Cool. Check my loot says, been a long time since I wrote Lua. I've forgotten so much. Well, that's the nice thing about Lua is that it's pretty, hopefully, straightforward to read up and be like, okay, what's going on? Okay, we need to restore the main window because my goodness. Okay, so UI setting. Let's set the minimum to 10 and the maximum to 400 and take a look at that. Okay, so if the small change is 0.05 and we know we want to be from 0.4 to 4.0 in 0.05 steps. So we know that that is 0.36. So 3.6 divided by 0.05 equals 72. So just to double check, if we do 72 times 0.05, we get 3.6. Awesome. So we know we need 72 steps. So if the minimum is, actually, you know what? Just so I have a better sense. What values are we setting here? Okay, so we're setting the minimum to 31 and the maximum to 131. Really? Man, why am I having trouble remembering how these work? Okay. What is scaling factor? Desired number of steps. Okay. So, desired number of steps we know equals 4.0 minus 0.4 divided by 0.05, which we know, since we just calculated, as something like 72. I've already forgotten. 72 times 0.05. Yep, okay, great. So that's the desired number of steps. Okay, so the scaling factor, we have max scale. Okay, we can just grab that and make our own max scale. So max scale equals 4. Okay, so the desired number of steps. And I was saying desired number of steps is 100. So we know the scroll bar maximum minus the scroll bar minimum is that. The max scale times the scaling factor. What was the scaling factor? Hmm, 5 to 21 is becoming 0.5 to 2.1. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, we're affecting the size of the thumb intrinsically. Okay. So if max scale is 2.1, let's assume it is, then the max scale minus the minimum, okay, so we're doing the same thing. So our scaling factor is max scale minus the minimum, which is local min scale equals 0.4. Huh. I'm just looking at scaling factor being equal to desired number step, but if you call out local scale width, scale range equals max scale minus min scale, then this is just scale range divided by that. But this is also scale range. So if you take desired number of steps divided by scale range, you get the invert of this. So the scaling factor should just be the invert of that. Right? Well, that should be 20. Well, I don't know. So scroll bar minimum, scroll bar maximum. That is... Okay, let's assume everything's getting divided by 10. So if that is 40 and that is 400, then if that scale is that and that scale is that, what does that look like? Okay, and then we need set large scale to 100, and then this. So
get the value for this that. So turbine.shell.WriteLine value, and we're just going to go ahead and write current value. And again, I need to understand this. Okay, value is 40, value is 400. You know what? I want to see that up here as well. Okay, so here, value is 70, value is 64. That is so weird. Okay, I should have documented what I was doing even more because I'm not entirely sure why a scaling factor of 62 equals 1.0. Except I do know why this. I was concerned about it having the same scaling if you took the plugin and you changed your screen size. So if you went from 1K to 2K style resolution, we wanted the window to take up the same relative space in the screen. So I suspect what this is saying is that it is taking up 62 or 6.2% of the width or something like that. So if the width is 1920, I don't know, 1920 by 062, then that would be 200. Well, that can't be right, but I expected something like that. And Water says, sorry, off topic. For your issue, is scaling API changes live for plugins at present? It is not. And it is very much on topic with my issue, except that I'm just trying to remember what on earth I wrote. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do is because it is not live for plugins, and even if it were, I don't want my plugin. Well, I don't want this part of the window to be scaled according to some arbitrary plugin size. This specific part of it needs to be scaled according to the toolbar size because it's supposed to be on top of the thing. What is a toolbar? It's driving me nuts that it's underneath my whatever. So that's my problem is... Really? What's going on? Huh. Usually, we get to be able to drag that around. Very strange. Anyway, normally the events bar is underneath there like this, and we need to be able to scale the UI element as if it were a toolbar, not as if it were a plugin. So that's what's up with that. I don't know why the dragging it around is not working, but I'm going to assume it's some other problem. Okay, so we know the value that we got, and we don't need to worry about any of this proportional width stuff. We're just going to do a straight up scaling. So settings dot. So we need something in settings. So let's go ahead and think about how we're going to save this. Where's this going to go? Is there settings? Globals? Globals. Okay. So, settings main win. So main win. We can go ahead and say that's minimum as icon. Great. Toolbar scale toolbar equals. And so does this need to be a nested structure? Let's just say scale. So toolbar equals, and we're going to call that
10. Okay, so scale toolbar goes from 0.4 to 4. We'll store it incremented by 0.005. We'll store it in hundredths. So from 40 to 400? No, that's not right. 400 to 4,000. Thousandths? Cents, hundredths. Well. I hate storing things in decimal because it causes problems. So, 0.40 to 0.40. So that is in fact from 40, and that is to 400. Is it? What about 0.45 goes to 45? That's fine. Okay. So toolbar equals, so 1.0 goes to 100. Cool. So now that we have a sense of how we want to treat that, we want our toolbar window, and that's the fireworks event quick slot window. We want whatever scaling we're going to be doing here to be in here. So we need a function to update the window scaling. Function update fireworks event quick slots win scaling. And in here we can get that value, which we know we wanted to have something like this. So local scaling equals, but we know that we're doing that in not main one but scale and toolbar. And we're going to divide it by 100. Stored in hundredths. A 100. We need the value 1. Okay. Doing well says, hey, new to the game. Is it possible to buy expansions with in-game currency? How does it work? Is it easy? So first of all, welcome to LOTRO. I think you're going to have a good time with it. It's the best Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings Online based MMO that I know of. So, to answer your question, first of all, a lot of the in-game content is free to everyone. The game is free to play as a beginning, and then you can pay to subscribe monthly or annually or whatnot. If you really like the game and want to contribute to keeping the lights on for the people who make it, you can definitely do that. So first of all, the game currently goes well past the original story of Lord of the Rings and the spoilers, Destruction of the Ring in Mordor and the Aftermath. And so that covers about levels 1 through 100, give or take. Call it 105. No, wait, more, yeah. About 100, about level 1 to 105 will take you through Mordor and the Destruction of the Ring, and most of that content is free to free-to-play players. It's included in the game. Beyond that, there are expansions, and when an expansion comes out, you can only pay for it with real-world money for some amount of time. And as the expansions age along and aren't the new hotness anymore, then they become available to spend in-game LOTRO points on it. And LOTRO points are a thing that you can earn by completing mostly in-game deeds, and you can accumulate those over time. You'll also accumulate them if you become a subscriber of the game. So if you do that monthly or annual, or I think you can do 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, something like that. If you're doing that, I think you'll also get like a top up of 500 points every month as that progresses. And then you can use that in-game LOTRO points to purchase expansions that are not the new hotness, but are maybe a couple expansions old. But again, if you're just getting into the game, you don't actually need to do that for a long time. Now, there are nice quality of life upgrades that come from either being a subscriber or spending LOTRO points to buy things. Some that come to mind are if you're playing free to play, you won't have access to the super swift travel between stable masters. So let's go take a look at that. I am just up here in Bree Town, and the Westgate Stable Master is just down the hill here. So, if you are a subscriber or ever have been in the past while that character has existed, then one of the things you'll be able to have access to as a Stable Master are swift travels. So if I want to get to this may not be the best Stable Master because some of these may still actually be available. But anyway, we can see if I wanted to ride to Hobbiton from here, it's going to be slow travel. It's going to be like live running across Breeland and then the Shire until I finally get to Hobbiton. Whereas swift travel, if I get on the swift travel, then I'm going to run outside the gates, spawn just outside Mickle Delving, and I'm there. So that's a very nice quality of life thing, but not necessary to play the game, especially early on when things are very close together. So, in fact, I'm going to... Wow, why did I get off? I'm probably just going to head back. I've got to return to skill. Okay, so there are quality of life things to be had, but nothing game breaking, especially early on, if you just want to dip your toes in and do the free to play stuff. But yes, you can accumulate these LOTRO points and purchase content with them and purchase all sorts of other things. Some things to keep an eye on, I especially like Journeyman Riding, which is an account-wide purchase. I'm very fond of account-wide purchases. And that one will give every character that you make Journeyman Riding, which allows you to ride a little bit faster on a mount, gives you access to mounts very early on, including in the tutorials, and is just super convenient. So it's a little bit pricey though, of course. So if you only have 1 or 2 characters, probably not worth it. But if you have 10 or 20 characters, it starts becoming very worth it. Other account-wide things that are great are expanding the size of your inventory. Just gives you a lot more freedom to play without having to worry about like logistics of, oh, my inventory is full. Same thing with your shared storage. Increasing your shared storage is account-wide and will give you that extra benefit of, I want to play the game, I don't want to be organizing my inventory half the time, kind of thing. If you are a subscriber, you'll also be able to access your shared storage in your vault from anywhere instead of having to go into town and having to talk to a banker, a vault keeper in order to do it. So just nice things to have. But anyway, yes, in general, you can buy expansions, though not the newest, with in-game currency. Let me know if you have any other questions, and in the meantime, I'm going to go back to figuring out what I am doing. So we have a scaling. We're going to go ahead and, let's see. We want to call this probably when we're first setting up. All right, Doomwell says, nice, thank you for the explanation. You are very welcome. We are going to go ahead and do a scaling. So we're going to go ahead and say W quick slot. I don't like that name, but I'm not going to fix it right now. Set stretch mode to 1. Set the image original size before assigning, then set the stretch mode to the desired. So we're going to set stretch mode to 1, and then the quick slot. We're going to go ahead and set size. And here we want to go ahead and say W quick slot original width equals 194. W quick slot original height equals 41. And we're going to go ahead and set size equal to W quick slot original width times scaling. Now we're just going to call it scale. And then W quick slot original height times scale.
Cool. So is that it? Now, one thing I want to do is say, okay, we'll come back to that. Other thing that has a concern for the main window is that if you are very close to 100%, but you're just off, like if I scale, just drag this a little bit, the window can get a little bit blurry. Yeah, the window says, like this thing says it's 1.0. Should probably be 2 decimal points, I don't know. But we can see things are blurry because everything's getting scaled just slightly. And you can't fix it with that. But I have a little bit of a snapping logic that says if you're close to 100%, then we just stick you on 100%. But it's at the edges, it's a little wonky. This doesn't have any text, so I don't think I have to care about that. Okay, I'm noticing I'm over 2 hours here, so I'm gonna see if I can do much more on this. Okay, so we have the update thing. Let's go ahead and call that from the window. Updates the scaling. So we're gonna get the value. So this is, for instance, going to be 100 equals, which is 1. So we're going to set this equals current value. In fact, we can still keep that. And then we'll just call update. And I don't know, maybe that's enough. Let's see. Well, I can make it bigger. What I didn't do what I haven't done is a couple things. So first of all, we need to update the scaling thing. So we do want to go ahead and say we want to format not the main window scaling, but we want to set the text to toolbar scaling. And we want to set to this current value divided by 100. We're doing the settings. Cool. Main when we draw, so we'll do that one down here. Okay, so first of all, well, not first of all, but let's check that. So if we go ahead and drag this over, great, all of that's fine. The initial value, all right, so okay. So the minimum equals, so that's 0.04 times 100. And this is 4 times 100. And the small change is 0.05 times 100. And the large change is, I don't know, 1 times 100? That doesn't seem right. How about 0.5? All right, so setting the value, we need to set it to that thing, this thing. All right, well, that's an error message. 155. Yeah, well, that would do it. Okay, so we can just say local scale equals that. Local scale display equals, well, we only need that in one place. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that for scale and then scale divided by 100. Let's try that. Okay, there we go. So we can see we're at 1.7. We know that we want this to be, I don't know, 0.05? Does that even work? I feel like I've just butchered that, but... Oh yeah, no, that's not good. Okay. In order to replicate what we actually have in the UI, I need to do something different. Also, that wasn't right. Let's do that instead. Okay. Am I misreading it? Yeah, okay. So that's fine. And in the options window, it doesn't have an X. Oh, it's daytime. Oh well. Wouldn't it be nice if anytime we called this function, that this became visible if the window is not currently visible, make it visible for a few seconds. W quick slot set visible true, and then to do actually hide it. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but that's easy enough to do. We'll start a timer. At the end of the timer, we'll hide the window again. If it hasn't become visible in some other way, it's fine. But for right now, for our purposes, there we go. Oh, no. We need that to not be here. We need it to be here. Okay, great. So here, we can go ahead and do that. So we need each tick to correspond to the 0.5. And so okay, yeah. So we need 72 steps. One equals. Are we going to start at 1? Could start at 0. 0 equals 1 equals something like that. So 1 equals 0.4. 2 equals 0.45. 3 equals 0.5, etc. And then 72 equals, and this should be 72 times 0.05. It should be 3.6 more than that, so that should be 4.0. So if the minimum is 1, and the maximum is 72, and the small change is 1, and the large change is, I don't know, 5 or 10. Let's call it 10. Then here's where we need to do this. So we need, 0 to 71 might actually be easier. I don't know. No, it's fine. Okay. So whenever we're dealing with the value, so we set the value. The scale, we need ways to go back and forth. So the scale is currently saved as 100. Okay, so function setting to scroll bar scale. No, local setting equals function And that's going to take a setting, and then local scroll bar scale to setting equals function that takes a scroll bar setting, and we should call that value. So scroll bar value to setting, and then setting to scroll bar value. Okay, so for setting 400, we need to get 72. For setting 4, we need, 40, we need to get 0.4, and etc. So, no, we don't. We need to get 1. And that's 0.4. Okay, so if we know that there are 72 of these, is that helpful? What's going on here? Am I complicating this? Why don't we just save 1 to 72 and just display it? No, we do need to convert this into a number. So if we have 1, yeah. If we're actually going from 0, 1 is 0.45, 2 is that, then the gap of 72 corresponds correctly. I think that's fine. Okay. So that's 73 steps, though. Okay, so the basic logic. For 400, we divide by 100 to get 4. Minus 0.4 to get 3.6. And then multiply by... and then divide by 0.05. Divide by 0.05 to get... if I have this right, divided by 0.05 to get 72. Great. Okay. For 40, divided by 100 equals 0.4 minus 0.4 to get 0, and then divide it by equals 0.5 to get 0. Okay, that's fine. 100 divided by 100 gets us 1.0. Minus 0.4 gets us 0.6. And if we divide by equals, sorry, I keep using a comma as the radix symbol. Divide by that, so 0.6 divided by 0.05, you get 12. That makes sense. Okay, do I think that is reasonable? We can get the correct numbers out of here with that logic. Cool. Okay, so local scale equals setting divided by 100. And then local scroll bar value equals scale minus 0.4 divided by 0.05. Return scroll bar value. Now, we need to do the opposite thing when we do the opposite thing. So the scroll bar value to setting, we have the same thing. So we have
for value 72, we need 400. For value 0, we need 40. So same basic thing though. We're going to go ahead and multiply by that 0.05. So we have 72 times 0.05. I'm building up calculators here. 72 times 0.05, that's going to give us 36 equals 3.6. And then we're going to go ahead and plus 0.4 equals 4 times 100 equals 400. Great. If we have 40, if we have 0 times 0.5 equals 0 plus 0.4 equals 0.4 times 100 equals 40. That's good. And then the final one is 100, which we said was 12. So 12 times 0.05 equals 12 times 0.05, so 0.06. It's good so far. Plus 0.4 equals 1 times equals 100 equals 100. Cool. So we know all that works. So we can say local scale equals scroll bar value times 0.05 and plus 0.4, and that's the scale. And then the local setting equals scale times 100, and then return a setting. Okay, so we have two functions that do the thing that we need them to do. So whenever we have this, we have the get value from the toolbar scaling. Okay, so we have this current value. The setting, it's going to be scroll bar value to setting. And current value, we can actually just change to rename scroll bar value. Bam. So scroll bar value to setting. Now, some people really like their function names to line up with the inputs and the outputs in a way that, let's go ahead and add some comments here. Convert setting to scroll bar value. 400 to 72. Setting we know is a number, and return is a number. And we're going to do the same documentation here. Convert scroll bar value to setting. 72 to 400. Okay. We know this is a number. We know this is a number. Cool. So, if you are of a certain mindset, you're going to really want to say, write this like setting from scroll bar value. Because if you have named things well, you have something called setting on the left side, you have something called scroll bar value being passed in. And if you see setting equals setting from scroll bar value, you know you have probably written this line of code correctly. As opposed to setting equals scroll bar value to setting a scroll bar value, it's not quite lining up the inputs and the outputs. I grew up on the X to Y instead of Y from X, so I still do that, but bear in mind, you can just flip the convention and then say setting equals setting from value of value, and you'll have something that makes it much more obvious when you are passing around the wrong thing. Because if you pass, if you have setting equals setting from scroll bar value of setting, that should trip a flag when you're doing a code review that says, I think I'm passing the wrong thing to this conversion function. Anyway, that being said, I could do that right here. So let's do it. It'll be nothing like anything else, but it's also very local to this function. Okay, so that's going to be setting from scroll bar, and then we'll go ahead and okay, setting equals setting from scroll bar value of scroll bar value. Great. And then we need what are you setting in the update fireworks event quick slot win scaling? Excellent. I am setting stretch mode to 1 in case it's not, although I shouldn't need to do that. In fact, let's just do it right after here. I'm just setting the size. So this is just a whole window, and I'm hoping it's not going to break with the update, the plugin stuff. Basically, I will need to opt this out of plugin scaling so it can manually scale, I think. We'll see. But just historically, once stretch mode is 1, then whenever you set the updated size, you'll end up stretching whatever the background image is. So I'm running off of that because that's what I have until other changes come in. Okay, good question. So we have this setting divided by 100 should be the visible. Okay, and then let's go ahead and move these functions up so they are available when we set the initial value here. Actually, we don't need to, do we? Okay, so when we set the value, we need to scroll bar value from setting of the setting. And we could save that off, but I don't think we need to. Okay, so we're setting the value from setting of the setting, and then in here we get that value, and we set the setting to setting from scroll bar value, and we set the text using that. Now that we keep doing that dividing 100 thing, I think it would be fine to local set label from setting equals function that takes a label and setting and that's going to just be this. So label is just going to be here, set text, and we'll string format that, and we have the setting here divided by 100. That's super easy. So we can go ahead and document that. So comment update a percent label from a setting. So we know the label is a label, and we know the setting is a number. Okay. So from that, we can go ahead and say set label percent from setting. That's going to be this thing, and it's going to be this setting. Okay, so what we really want to find is any more instances of that set text, but for now that's dead to us. Yeah, okay, it's just the one. Okay, so what do we got? Minimum should be 0. As we mentioned, minimum can't be 0? Oh, it can. Okay, good. We now have functionality that is matching the in-game system. Great. So we are allowing hundredths, but we're locking it down to every 5 hundredths. We're not allowing freeform 2.01, 2.02, 2. Whatever. So we're going to go ahead and lock that down, or set that down. And then we can see that that's a value 12. That's what we expected it to be. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Output. Great. Unload, reload. Okay. So I want to do this, but the problem is it's complicated because if the window becomes visible because the quest is accepted, that should override this thing's desire to hide it later. And that's fine, we can do that. But how does this thing become visible? Toggle HUD fireworks, toggle visibility fireworks, sure. Where does that happen? Main window, close helper windows, okay, and then sure. I see. So if we do fireworks and Bree, that should override it. Okay. Um, so if W quick slot is visible, but not, if not that, then end. Okay. And then start the timer. Do we have a timer in this? I'm confident we have a timer. Let's come take a look at our timer. No, where is it? Libraries. Timer. Okay. Great. Where are we using a timer? Hobnettigans isn't... Oh, that's a timer control. Okay, great. Anywhere else? I know we are. The main window has one NPC timer. Okay, good. Okay, looks something like this. Let's go ahead and make the timer. So, options dot hide window timer equals. Oops. And then we're going to call this like, I don't know, 2000, assuming that's milliseconds. Is it? Yeesh. Timeout MS. Great. Create a timer. This is a number. Auto repeat is a boolean, and callback is a function. Can I get me some? No. Oh well. Okay. But anyway, we know that's milliseconds. We don't want it to auto repeat, and the function is going to be if w quick slot dot something is window visible,
If it's not thinking it's visible, then, and, then set visible false. Okay. So, options, hide window timer, start, something like that. Let's play around with that. Nope, that's so wrong. Okay. Unexpected symbol near, sure. Okay, so function, if not, then end. Unexpected symbol near close parentheses, okay. What is up with that? Where did I find this? Oh, I found it in the Barter window. That's funny. Okay. Okay. So it should be something like this. False function. Of course. I'm missing an end. The if statement introduced the need for an extra one. Okay. So if we don't have fireworks and Bree active, 1001, 1002, great. The other thing I wish it would do is it would dial down the opacity for the whole time. But we're not dealing with that, I don't think. Okay, so 2 seconds seems a little shy. Let's go ahead and bump it up to 3 seconds. Okay, so like this, 2, 3, bam. And then if it is fireworks and Bree, and we do that, 3, 4, nothing happens because it thinks it should be visible, so we're not going to hide it. But if we come on back to lost invites and do this, 2, bam. Okay, that's working pretty well. We're taking advantage of the fact that the toolbar has an internal... Oh, interesting. We're not restarting it. Okay. Okay, so instead, if we're dragging that, then each time we do this, it should restart it. And then 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002, 1003. Yeah, okay. So by changing it to is it visible to does it think it's visible, that allows us to play off of that. So if the window doesn't think it's visible, but it is, then we're still going to hit that start. Now, for the timer, I think start is the right thing to do here. I don't think there's a restart. There's a start, there's a stop, there's an update. Which I don't remember what update is for. Should probably document these things. Anyway, so start is going to get the current time, which will then update the end time and make sure that it's requesting updates if it wasn't already. So start is great. Okay, so I feel pretty good about that. We have a way to do the preview, and then it goes away after 3 seconds. But while we're doing the preview, we're going to keep up. Now, if you pause for long enough, I'm still holding the mouse cursor down. It's going to go away, but as soon as I keep dragging, it'll fix that. Okay. This allows us to mirror this, I think. So if I drag this, yep, it's snapping to nearest 0.5s. Okay. So Festival Buddy can snap or can mirror it like that. Now, there's some question about maybe we should do that with the main window instead of allowing more arbitrary units, but and then just max out how far to let you scale up based off of those sizes. But internally, I mean, the problem is we still have the desire to, if from the plugin's perspective, if your screen size doubles, the relative space the plugin main window uses should probably also double. So I'm not going to worry about changing anything like that, especially not with scaling stuff coming down the pipeline, potentially. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit some stuff, and then it's probably a little bit too late today. I think I need to head towards bed, but in the near future, I'll go ahead and get this pushed out, and then it'll be there for the rest of Anniversary. So we have timer added function. That is in work stuff. Added scaling settings. So that is this. That is all of that. That is this. That is all of that. And that is this. Okay. That's pretty easy. It's nice when you have a clean working directory, so pretty much by default, everything in there goes. We're going to go push that out so it is backed up somewhere besides my computer. Okay. So, I think we are going to be coming to a close here. I believe Little Redhead and I are both back next week, same time, same place, and all that. And just checking. Okay. I think we're all caught up there. Lunar Water, it was good to see you in chat. Hopefully, if you have any other questions, just reach out on Discord or something, and we'll get those answered. And in the meantime, that is everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you all here next week, and until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.